President Tinubu sets up tax committee. National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons calls for stiffer sanctions for gender violence culprits. Plus, fire kills 6 in Italy retirement home. Hello, this is News Live on Viewer Television. I am Dorcas Bello. President Bola Tinubu has set up a presidential committee on fiscal policy and tax reforms to be chaired by fiscal policy partner and African tax leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Taiwo Oyedele. Tinubu approved the establishment of the presidential committee in consonance with his promise to remove all barriers impeding business growth in Nigeria. It will comprise experts from both the private and public sector and have responsibility for the various aspects of tax law reform, fiscal policy design and coordination, harmonization of taxes, and revenue administration. Special advisor to the President on Revenue, Adelabu Adedeji, explained that Tinubu recognizes the importance of a sound fiscal policy environment and an effective taxation system for the functioning of government and the economy. The committee's primary objective is to enhance revenue collection and ensure the effective utilization of tax and other revenues. The Nigerian Senate says it will probe the concession of the Aminu Kano International Airport, Kano, and the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, saying the probe is necessary because the process of concessioning the airports were not done transparently. The Senate resolved to probe the concessioning of the airports followed a motion by Sumaila Kawo, who said the combined examination of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria Act and the ICRC Procedures Manual, it is evident that the concession was based on a faulty foundation. He argued that the Federal Ministry of Aviation does not own or run any airport in Nigeria, rather by the dictates of the Governing Act of FAN. Ownership and management of all federal government airports are fully vested in FAN. The lawmaker stated that he is alarmed that Nigeria is receiving a concession fee upfront of $1.5 million, while the total amount of money that the Kano airport is acquiring to the government is $97.4 million.
And the rise question on the process and what the actors stand to gain. Recall that the unions in the aviation industry embark on strike to question the integrity of the concessioning exercise, stressing that the concessioning of the airport away from PAN will necessarily cause or halt the employment of the staff involuntarily.
Other senators consequently condemned the concessioning of the airports, which they argued was done shabbily.
Come up and a Federal Executive Council fully constituted and approve this mindless contract. Concession, what is concession? And why do we concede? Why do you concede? You do it because of some parameters laid. But this particular concession was done in a dubious manner, in a manner that begets any imagination. I have personal issue on this because my state too is affected. The Kashimbila Dam, that the multi-purpose dam that was built for so many years, millions of dollars have been spent. The same thing like that, few days to the end of the former administration, the same thing happened. So, Mr. President, that is something. Water resources, Ministry of Aviation, the two people mislead the Executive Council. So, I want to go straight to the point. They have to invite them to come and explain, because in aviation, the fraudulent act is too much.
Okay, you're still watching News Live. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, News Live continues. The federal lawmaker representing Usukumwata Federal Constituency in Abia State, Amu Obi Oga, has condemned the brazen attacks on indigents of his constituency. Abia State by kidnappers, assassins, bandits, and other criminal elements, and this has lingered, according to him, for more than half a decade. Oga says the activities of these bandits and criminal elements have forced the Nigerian military to close traffic on the Ihu-Obe-Isuochi Road at the Lomara military checkpoints for a long time. He called on the federal government to intervene and take urgent action to curtail the dangerous trend, stating that the primary function of the government is to the protection of lives and properties of its citizens.
It's an issue now, and which federal government have more power on issue of security, but we are doing a lot. Even we have a plan to see how we can engage with locals to form like vigilante groups to see, because it's very hard for foreigners to secure the indigenes. Using the indigenes will a little help us. But you know, the issue of this kidnapping is not only in my constituency, it's all over the country.
The Director General of the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, Professor Fatima Waziri Aziz, has in Abuja lamented what she described as incommensurable sanctions method to culprits of rape and sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. Therefore, she calls for stiffer sanctions, urging the judiciary to wake up to its responsibility on the issue. Waziri Aziz stated this in her opening remarks at a one-day technical retreat for judges and NAPTIP prosecutors in Abuja. She cited the sudden rise in distress calls over sexual gender-based violence cases nationwide, describing it as a cue for more action. Waziri Aziz further explained that within the period of 6 months in 2023, 663 cases have already been received. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention has recorded 798 diphtheria cases in 8 states across 33 local government areas in the country. The death toll, according to the center, has risen to 80 with a case fatality ratio of 10% as of June 30th, 2023. The NCDC disclosed this in a press statement signed by the Director General, Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa, following the first reported confirmed case of diphtheria in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The NCDC, however, said the FCT Health and Human Services Secretariat have activated the diphtheria incident management system to coordinate outbreak response activities. Diphtheria caused by a toxin produced by the bacteria Corynebacterium diphtheria is a vaccine-preventable disease covered by one of the vaccines provided routinely through Nigeria's childhood immunization schedule. Despite the availability of a safe and cost-effective vaccine in the country, the majority, that's 82% of the 798 confirmed diphtheria cases in the ongoing outbreak were unvaccinated. The NCDC has said this. The Supreme Court has overturned the conviction of Peter Nwabushi and his sentencing to 7 years imprisonment for offenses of fraud and money laundering. The Apex Court ordered the immediate release of Nwabushi, who represented Delta North in the 9th Senate, from Ikoyi prisons in Lagos, where he is currently being held. Delivering judgment, the court also freed the 2 companies, that's Golden Touch Construction Projects Limited and Sumin Electrical Limited, tried with him on a 2-count charge brought against them by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The EFCC had accused Nwabushi and his companies of illegally acquiring a property named Guinea House on Marine Road in Apapa, Lagos for 805 million naira. The property paid to belongs to the Delta State government. All right, we'll take a quick break. When News Live returns, troops intercept Boko Haram Islamic State of West African province terrorists crossing from Cameroon to Nigeria with weapons and other logistics. Details of this and more comes to you right after this break. Do stay with us.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm at the Envoy Hotel, Diplomatic Drive 305, here for a business weekend. It's been an amazing stay. Conference hall and business facilities here are stylish and innovative. The Envoy Hotel is luxury, esoteric, opulence, for ultimate comfort.
discerning travelers, we are more than just a place to stay. We are an icon of comfort, style, and thoughtful luxury. We are Envoy Hotel.
If you cannot maintain a child, do not give birth to him.
Children are not meant to beg. They are meant to be nurtured and cared for. They are meant to be protected, and they have rights.
That's child maltreatment. That's child abuse. You don't, chain a child.
I am from the north, and I know the number of Almajiris that are lingering the streets.
What has gone on in terms of the Almajiri system in the north, and how that has affected the development scape of the north. It's heartbreaking to all of us.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Live. Now, a recap of our top stories. President Tinubu sets up tax reform committee. National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons calls for stiffer sanctions for gender violence culprits. Plus, fire kills 6 in Italy retirement home. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has charged the suspended resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State, Hudu Ari, to court. Ari, during the 2023 governorship election in Adamawa State, had illegally declared Aishatu Dahiru Binani of the All Progressive Congress the winner of the Adamawa State governorship election, prompting the police to arrest Ari. A statement by the National Commissioner, the Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee of the Commission, Festus Okoye, said it had reviewed the case file sent to the Commission by the police and had filed a 6-count count against Ari. He added that the case would be heard at the Adamawa State High Court on July 12, 2023. It would be recalled that at the meeting with the resident electoral commissioners 2 days ago, Tuesday, 4th of July 2023, the Commission confirmed the receipt of case files from the Nigerian police following the conclusion of the investigation into alleged electoral offences during the 2023 general elections, including the one involving the resident electoral commissioner deployed to Adamawa State, Hudu Ari. As the indigenous people of Biafra sit at home, violence intensifies. The national president of the Arewa Youth Consultative Forum, Yerima Shatima, has called on southeastern state governors to take measures in protecting the lives and properties of northerners living as minorities in the southeastern communities of Nigeria. The president of the forum, Yerima Shatima, made this known during an exclusive interview with our correspondent in Kaduna State.
In a country where you have a democratically elected president, where you have elected governors, where you have local government chairmen, single-handedly people will pick into arms, live arms, and go into markets and attack innocent Nigerians in the name of agitations, in the name of sit at home, in the name of making points, forgetting that those people needed to come out on daily basis to sell and go to the market to fend for their family to survive. Then suddenly somebody will bring out gun on the day broad light and be shooting in the name of some people refuse to comply with sit-at-home order.
Still in Kaduna State, the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji in Kaduna, where the students' courses tagged Exercise Sea Lion 2023 has come to the climax after 14 days of rigorous planning and execution of assigned tasks at the operational level. Commending the students who took part in the exercise, the Commandant, Armed Forces Command and Staff College Air Vice Marshal Hassan Al-Haji further outlined some of the impact of the course on students of the college.
The exercise also availed you the opportunity to further develop your ability in the writing of estimates, briefing with the campaign plan, as well as the delivery of mission directives and planning guidance. Furthermore, the exercise must have consolidated your knowledge on the technicalities of war gaming.
Newsman, after the closing remarks, Air Vice Marshal Hassan also pointed out the importance of the exercise as it is concerning national security.
On significant national issues that requires the application of multidimensional military capabilities in a joint and combined environment, while highlighting the specific capabilities and competencies of each service in the armed forces of Nigeria.
Now, still on security matters, the Deputy Director, Defense Media Operation Brigadier General Abdullahi Ibrahim says troops intercepted Boko Haram Islamic State of the West African province terrorists crossing from Cameroon to Nigeria with weapons and other logistics. This was disclosed during the bi-weekly briefing of the Defense Headquarters in Abuja. The military high command added that the troops of Operation Hatlin K killed 5 terrorists during a gun battle and ensued arrest 10 and also recovered arms and other logistics including bags of flour and detergent. He also said troops killed a terrorist commander identified as Naob Jundola. He added that a total of 967 terrorists surrendered to the military during the period under review. Now, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has promoted no fewer than 3,248 officers. Also, 12 state commands and 148 other personnel were given awards and commendations for their outstanding performances in the first half of the year. Speaking during the decoration of the officers in Abuja, the chairman/chief executive officer of NDLEA, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, said the exercise was an indication that the agency had now entrenched the culture of excellence. The NDLEA chairman urged personnel of the service not to rest on their oars. Just last week on World Drug Day, the president gave assurances of his administration's unwavering support for the NDLEA. Still watching news live on Viewer Television. Business International News comes to you right after this break. Do stay tuned. The Central Bank of Nigeria has asked deposit money banks and other financial institutions in the country to increase monitoring of transactions with businesses and persons in and from Cameroon, Croatia, and Vietnam. This was according to a circular which was issued by the Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Chibuzo Efobi. According to Nigerian banks and other financial institutions need to watch transactions with those countries because they had been recently placed on a grey list by the Financial Action Task Force. The Financial Action Task Force is an international body whose purpose is to develop and promote measures to combat money laundering, terrorism, and proliferation financing. Any country under increased monitoring is actively working with the FATF to address strategic deficiency in its regime to counter money laundering, terrorism financing, and proliferation financing. The organized private sector has welcomed the tax suspension announced by President Bola Tinubu, noting that they showed the federal government was sensitive to the challenges facing businesses and citizens. The private sector operators, however, pointed out that the tax suspension were inadequate to curb rising inflation and other macroeconomic headwinds threatening the survival of many local businesses. They therefore asked the president to implement additional tax waivers and incentives in order to reduce the high cost of doing business, addressing rising inflation, and tackle the various economic challenges affecting businesses. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture made this known while reacting to the tax suspension by the federal government. Tinubu had earlier on Thursday in Abuja signed 4 executive orders suspending the 5% excise tax on telecommunication services and the excise duty escalation on locally manufactured. The president assured Nigerians that there would not be further tax raised without robust and broad consultations with the coherent fiscal policy framework. The Group Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Malik Kyari, has announced that the NNPCL would reconstruct another international gas pipeline worth about $8 billion. NNPCL and its partners are currently working on the construction of the $25 billion Nigerian-Morocco gas pipeline that is to supply gas from Nigeria to about 11 African countries and transport same from Morocco to Europe. Speaking during the panel session at the ongoing 8th Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries International Seminar in Vienna, Austria, Kyari stated that the proposed $8 billion pipeline would go through Niger Republic and to Algeria and then to Europe. The NNPC helpsman said there were many other gas projects being handled by the oil company to further deepen the penetration of gas in Nigeria and other nations. The Niger Delta Development Commission has said it had so far completed 7,000 projects valued at over 1.66 trillion naira in the Niger Delta region, adding the 6,000 other projects were currently ongoing. It outlined the completed and ongoing projects including roads, bridges, buildings, renewable energy projects, jetties, water supply systems, skills acquisition centers, healthcare and education projects, among others. The Commission also disclosed that the 6,000 ongoing projects in the region were valued at over 1.5 trillion naira, adding that the agency had awarded more than 5 trillion naira worth of contracts since the establishment of the NDDC. This was revealed in Abuja at a one-day policy dialogue with development partners and donor agencies organized by Commission in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. The NDDC, established on June 5, 2000 by the Niger Delta Development Commission Establishment Act number 6 of 2000, is a federal government agency that has the sole mandate of developing the oil-rich Niger Delta region. Kenyan police fired tear gas on opposition leader Raila Odinga's convoy on Friday as people joined anti-government protests in several cities over a harsh cost of living crisis and a raft of controversies, tax hikes. Tear gas also fired on Odinga's motorcade after he addressed a mass rally in the capital Nairobi, and police took similar action to break up protests in Indian Ocean port city in Mombasa and Kisumu, and opposition's stronghold on Lake Victoria. Police were out in force for the protests, the latest called by Odinga this year over the policies of the government of President William Ruto. At the rally, Odinga, who lost the close 4th August 2022 election to Ruto, announced plans to collect 10 million signatures in a bid to remove his arch rival from office. Odinga Ozimio's alliance had called for the protest over the impact of a new taxes on Kenyans already suffering economic hardship and soaring prices for basic necessities. The Finance Act provides for new taxes or increases on a range of basic goods such as fuel and food and mobile money transfer, as well as controversial levy on all tax-paying Kenyans fund a housing scheme. A fire at the retirement home in the early hours of Friday in Milan killed 6 people. Firefighters have reported this, with numerous residents hospitalized. The 3-story building was reportedly housing about 167 people when the fire started. Over 10 ambulances, various fire trucks, and a silver mortuary van could be seen outside the building in the south of Italian city. Milan Mayor Sala said the fire started in one room housing 2 female residents, both of whom were killed by the flames. The cause of the blaze was not yet known. The fire brigade have said this. President Vladimir Zelensky is set to hold talks with Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan on the latest leg of the tour to push Ukraine's bid to join NATO and secure more weapons from allies. The talks in Istanbul comes on the eve of the 500th day since Russian invasion, with Zelensky admitting Ukraine's counter-offensive was progressing slowly. He called on the United States and other allies to provide long-range weapons and artillery during a 2-day visit to the Prague. The talks with Erdogan, an important broker in the conflict, are to focus on an expiring deal to ship Ukrainian grain across the Black Sea, as well as the next week NATO summit. Both Zelensky and Erdogan want to extend a United Nations and Turkey broker deal with Russia under Ukraine has been allowed to ship grain to global markets during the war. The deal will expire in June 17 unless Russia agrees its renewal. At least 50 people, including 8 children, have been killed by floods and landslides triggered by monsoon rains that have lashed Pakistan since last month. Officials have said this on Friday. The summer monsoon brings South Asia 70 to 80% of its annual rainfall between June and September every year. It is vital for the livelihoods of millions of farmers and food security in the region of around 2 billion people, but it also brings landslides and floods. Majority of the deaths were in eastern Punjab province, where mainly due to electrocution and building collapse. Official data has shown this. Meanwhile, the Meteorological Department has predicted more heavy rainfall nationwide in the days ahead and warned of potential flooding in the catchment areas of Punjab major rivers. However, the province's Disaster Management Authority said Friday it is working to relocate people living along the waterways. And that's all that we can take on News Live. But before we go, we'll take a recap of our major stories. President Tinubu sets up tax reforms committee.